One of the biggest reasons people struggle to trust themselves is because they have spent years listening to fear more than their own inner voice. From childhood, many people are taught to seek approval before making decisions. They begin depending on the opinions of family, friends, society, and even strangers instead of developing confidence in their own judgment. Over time, this creates a dangerous habit of self-doubt. Every small mistake starts to feel like proof that they are not capable, intelligent, or worthy enough to make the right choices. Inspired by the teachings of Joseph Murphy, we can understand that the subconscious mind absorbs these repeated thoughts and turns them into beliefs. When a person constantly thinks, "I always fail," or "I cannot trust myself," the subconscious mind accepts those statements as truth and begins shaping behavior around them. This is why many people hesitate before making even simple decisions. They fear failure, criticism, rejection, or embarrassment so deeply that they stop believing in their own instincts. The truth is that self-trust is not something people are born with naturally forever. It is something that must be developed, protected, and strengthened through daily mental habits. Every successful person has faced uncertainty, fear, and moments of doubt. But the difference is that they learn to move forward despite those feelings. Confidence does not appear magically overnight. It grows when a person repeatedly keeps promises to themselves. It grows when someone chooses action instead of endless overthinking. Many people think confidence comes before action, but in reality, action creates confidence. When you avoid decisions because you are afraid of making mistakes, you teach your mind that you are weak and incapable. However, when you take small steps forward, even imperfect ones, you begin proving to yourself that you can survive challenges and learn from experiences. One of the most powerful ways to rebuild self-trust is to stop speaking negatively about yourself. Words carry emotional power, especially when repeated every day. If you constantly criticize yourself internally, your mind begins expecting failure before you even try. Instead, begin replacing destructive thoughts with empowering beliefs. Tell yourself that you are learning, growing, improving, and becoming stronger every day. Your subconscious mind responds to repetition, emotion, and belief. The more consistently you feed it confidence, the more naturally confidence begins to appear in your actions. Another important step is learning to forgive yourself for past mistakes. Many people lose self-trust because they remain emotionally trapped in old failures. They replay painful memories repeatedly and use them as evidence that they cannot succeed. But mistakes are not permanent definitions of your identity. They are lessons that help you grow wiser and stronger. Every setback contains valuable experience if you're willing to learn from it instead of condemning yourself forever. The moment you stop defining yourself by your past and start believing in your ability to improve, you begin rebuilding the foundation of genuine self-confidence and inner trust. Another major reason people lose trust in themselves is because they become emotionally dependent on outside validation. They constantly look for reassurance from other people before taking action, making decisions, or pursuing their goals. Instead of asking themselves what feels right, they wait for approval from friends, family members, coworkers, or society. Over time, this habit weakens personal confidence because their sense of worth becomes controlled by outside opinions rather than inner belief. Inspired by the mindset teachings of Joseph Murphy, it becomes clear that true confidence must come from within. When your happiness and self-worth depend entirely on external praise, criticism becomes emotionally devastating. A single negative comment can suddenly make you question your abilities, your choices, and even your future. This creates a cycle where people stop trusting their instincts because they fear disappointing others or being judged unfairly. The problem is that no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to satisfy everyone. Different people will always have different opinions, expectations, and beliefs. If you continue allowing outside voices to control your direction, you slowly lose connection with your authentic self. One of the most important steps toward rebuilding self-trust is learning how to listen to your own intuition again. Deep inside, Most people already know what they truly want, what feels wrong, and what path they genuinely desire to follow. However, fear often drowns out that inner voice. Fear of failure, rejection, embarrassment, or uncertainty becomes louder than personal wisdom. The subconscious mind begins creating mental scenarios filled with doubt and negativity, making simple decisions feel overwhelming. This is why practicing mental discipline is so important. You must train your mind to focus on possibility instead of fear. Every day, take small moments to become aware of your thoughts. Pay attention to how often you criticize yourself internally or imagine worst-case outcomes. Negative thinking patterns are dangerous because repeated thoughts eventually become emotional beliefs. If your mind constantly expects failure, hesitation becomes automatic. But when you consciously replace fear-based thinking with calm, empowering thoughts, your confidence slowly strengthens. Another powerful way to rebuild self-trust is by honoring your commitments to yourself, even in small areas of life. When you repeatedly break promises to yourself, your subconscious mind begins believing that your words have no value. For example, if you constantly say you'll wake up early, exercise, improve your habits, or pursue your goals but never follow through, your inner confidence weakens. On the other hand, every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you send a powerful message to your subconscious mind that you are dependable and capable. Self-trust grows through consistency, not perfection. You do not need to have all the answers immediately. You simply need the courage to keep moving forward, learning, adapting, and believing in your ability to handle challenges along the way. The more you practice trusting yourself in small daily decisions, the stronger your confidence becomes in bigger moments that truly shape your future and personal success. Many people also struggle to trust themselves because they have become trapped in the habit of comparing their lives to everyone around them. In today's world, constant comparison has become almost unavoidable. Social media, public opinions, and unrealistic expectations create the illusion that everyone else is more successful, more confident, more talented, or more prepared. As a result, people begin measuring their worth against carefully edited versions of other people's lives. Inspired by the teachings of Joseph Murphy, it is important to understand that comparison weakens the subconscious mind by creating feelings of inadequacy and emotional insecurity. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you stop appreciating your own growth, your own journey, and your own unique strengths. Instead of focusing on progress, your mind becomes obsessed with perceived shortcomings. This creates emotional pressure that slowly destroys self-confidence. The truth is that every person moves through life at a different pace and faces challenges that are often invisible to others. Comparing your beginning to someone else's success story only creates frustration and discouragement. One of the most powerful ways to rebuild self-trust is by shifting your focus away from competition and toward personal growth. Your real goal should not be to become better than someone else. Your goal should be to become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more confident than the person you were yesterday. Small improvements may seem insignificant at first, but over time, they completely transform your mindset and your life. The subconscious mind responds strongly to what you repeatedly focus on. If you focus on lack, failure, and comparison, your confidence continues shrinking. However, if you begin focusing on growth, progress, gratitude, and possibility, your inner belief gradually becomes stronger. Another important truth is that self-trust cannot survive in an environment filled with constant negativity. The people you surround yourself with influence your thoughts more than you realize. If you're constantly around individuals who criticize, discourage, manipulate, or belittle you, it becomes difficult to maintain confidence in yourself. Negative environments train the subconscious mind to expect disappointment and rejection. This is why protecting your mental space is essential for emotional growth. You must become careful about what you listen to, what conversations you engage in, and what kind of energy you allow into your life daily. Encouraging relationships, positive information, uplifting books, and healthy routines help strengthen the mind and rebuild inner security. At the same time, spending quiet moments alone can also help reconnect you with your own thoughts and instincts. Many people avoid silence because they are uncomfortable facing their inner fears, but self-awareness is necessary for personal transformation. The more you understand your emotions, habits, and thought patterns, the easier it becomes to trust yourself again. Confidence is not created by pretending to be fearless. Real confidence comes from learning how to manage fear without allowing it to control your decisions. Every challenge you overcome, every difficult moment you survive, and every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your inner foundation. Over time, you begin realizing that you are far more capable, resilient, and powerful than you once believed, and that realization becomes the beginning of genuine self-trust and lasting emotional confidence.